Think about what Lori said about divisions, or whatever you want to say. What are the maps telling you? What are you noticing? Okay, so red continues to vote red, blue continues to vote blue.
That's not what you said. You said blue, there was something more dynamic you thought you saw?
It looks like Republicans have like won the country, but we've seen that it varies, but yeah.
You can see like that line of blue, right? And now over in the Southwest, right, in like north of Phoenix, where it's predominantly rural, you have this big swath of blue.
I think it depends a lot more on just like what they see day to day, because the environments are different.
I think the media has like a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
So for example, even on my like YouTube ads, I see like 2 ads right after each other, and one is all for Harris and one is all for Trump.
What's the question that we should be asking? Take a look at the map. You got it? Now, this particular one is shaded so that, if it's kind of light red or kind of in between red, that means, it was a closer count. All right, go to the next slide.
Wait, but why did you pick 2000? Because it was the election that was decided by the Supreme Court.
Oh, yeah,
because we,
right.
the people, couldn't decide.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of big,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
so
yeah.
anyone that thinks that this is a new phenomenon, that like the country is divided, most of you weren't alive at that time, but...
Yeah, you're right. Okay, here we go. So that's why we picked it. Here's 2004. Bush won, and Bush is in red. Okay, so go back one. Okay, go to this one. Now let's go to 2008. All right, counting results. This is McCain and Obama. So Obama won. Obama's blue. So Obama gets the majority of the votes. So
what
he
are
wins.
you noticing?
Think about what you're noticing here. So go back 2. Go back 2. Okay, there. Go forward. One more. Okay, one more. Let's go to 2012. There's Obama again. So go back one. Go forward. Okay? Let's go one more. 2016. This is Trump winning. Go back one. Go forward. Okay, go one more. 2020, Biden wins. Blue. Go back. Go back again. Okay, go forward. All right, one more. Think about what Lori said about divisions, or whatever you want to say. What are the maps telling you? What are you noticing? Anything at all?
It seems to be like red states or red counties continuously vote red, whereas blue counties or blue states can go back and forth based on the candidate.
Okay, so red continues to vote red, blue continues to vote blue.
That's not what you said. You said blue, there was something more dynamic you thought you saw?
Yeah, blue seems to go back and forth, like especially with the bottom tip of Texas. It was all blue in the beginning of 2000, and now it's like half blue.
So for all the like blue wins, there's not a lot of area that's blue. And the one time with Trump winning, there was like an overwhelming amount of red.
What's funny about Trump being like there was so much red is that he didn't even win the popular election. He only won the electoral college, which is kind of feels like it's almost disproportionate when it shows, because the blue is a lot of big cities, so it's a lot of population in one area.
Yeah, like I was just gonna say, like to the naked eye, to people that don't know much about how like U.S. election works, I know like this was me a couple of years ago. Like it looks like Republicans have like won the country, but we've seen that it varies. But yeah.
So it looks like they win the country because you see so much red, but it's about population density and so on, right? How about Nasser? How about you? Do you see anything?
As someone who's like outside of this country, it seems like every year the red is gonna win. So it's like slightly confusing. And like, why is there like so many counties in every state? It feels like too much happening.
I feel like most of the blue, it's centered around large cities. So like the coast of like Southern California, Portland, Oregon, and Maine, and then like Vermont, New York City, Chicago, Atlanta, stuff like that.
What is that saying to you?
People tend to be more liberal in large cities,
Okay.
I would say.
Or more democratic, or more likely to vote Democratic.
Yeah, more likely to vote Democratic.
Okay, what else? Somebody else. Coming off of that, not just that people tend to vote more Democratic, but who? Anyone else have something?
Something really interesting to me is that like the South is predominantly is an area of the country that predominantly votes Republican. But as you can see on that map, and this one's better because it shows every municipality, right? You can see like that line of blue, right? And now over in the Southwest, right, in like north of Phoenix, where it's predominantly rural, you have this big swath of blue, right? And if you go through these maps, you can see that is a trend throughout the past few elections, right? That there's like that line in the South that kind of bends, and then that area of ruralness in the Southwest that is predominantly votes blue, right? So I think that's interesting.
And building off of what other people have said so far, it definitely looks like that the bluer the years, it's more likely that has a higher concentration of cities, and the redder it is, it's much more likely that it's much more of a rural area. And secondly, one thing I also noticed with, for example, the 2004 election versus perhaps the 2020 election is that the selection of colors is interesting for me because some of the color choices very specific, makes it harder for you to tell what the percentage of the voter base is compared to some others. So it feels like there is some attempt to hide or exaggerate certain points of data compared to the others.
Just one more observation is how consistent these maps are over time, really. Like we were pointing out all the different things, things are coastal, or blue is here, red is there, whatever, but how amazingly consistent, even though we've had Republicans and Democrats in the White House, there's a really, I think, there's a lot of consistency across 25 years, well, not 25, 20 years of elections. What is that?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. So you've got something.
I just noticed how in 2000 it was very overwhelmingly red, but then it slowly got more and more divided, like you were saying. People kind of start switching sides in a lot of areas.
Or the areas start changing.
Yeah.
So, So listen, so I want to ask the four of you. So who are people voting for? Who are they voting for? You look at these slides, there's a lesson here, so think like sociologists. Who are they voting for?
When people vote one party, it's almost like their pride is instilled in that party, and they don't want to be caught going back and forth.
Okay.
So I vote Republican, or some people say vote blue no matter who. It's because they just align with the party rather than the person.
I see.
Okay, got it.
I see what
So
you're
look, so think about the candidates, right? Can you go back really fast? Go with 2000 and 2000. So here, the winner, right? Look at the Reds. They're voting for red. Next one. The Reds are mostly voting for red, and Blue's voting for blue. Mostly. There's some switch back and forth, but understand the vast majority of people are voting for the same party over and over and over again. Keep going. The same party. So it's what you said. People are voting for their party. So now, can we go back to the initial question I asked? Who are you going to vote for? You going to vote for Trump, or are you going to vote for Harris? When I ask someone that question, I say, you going to vote for Trump, or are you going to vote for Harris? That's not the right question. It seems like, from these maps, that's not the question. So what's the question? What's the question that we should be asking, therefore?
Do you vote Democrat or Republican?
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you agree with that, Christina? Do you think that's the question, or how do you see that?
Oh, absolutely. Just because here in the U.S., it's a lot of. I feel like your political party brings a lot of identity to who people are here.
Mm-hmm.
Like Democrats are always strong Democrats. Republicans are always, like strong Republicans. Like I just feel like it's so different here to see how voting really brings like a sense of like literal like cultural identity to people to like that extent, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that, Princeton, or disagree, or something else?
Personally, like thinking about it from your point of view, I do agree, but when it comes to like the people I know and like people in my family, I feel like the question should be more like, what are you voting for, or like, why are you voting?
What does that mean?
Because people in my family are like people that I know, they're all over the United States, and they all have different experiences in their daily lives. So what they value from one person to the next changes so much. Mm-hmm. I feel like if I were to try and group my family together under one umbrella, it would be like moderate conservative. We like vote across the board. So,
and would you say it depends on where people are? Are you making that connection too, or is that not what you see?
That's basically what I see. Like people in my family that are like in more like city areas, they tend to vote a little bit more like Democratic or liberal. But towards like the South, where a big part of my family is, they also tend to vote a lot more conservative. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I think it depends a lot more on just like what they see day to day, because the environments are different.
Uh-huh.
So this is your first U.S. presidential election?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
All right. So I don't know. I have this question. Remember we talked about this, and I talked about it earlier. And Lori alluded to this. It's like we all want to have this idea that we're free and we're making free decisions, and we're deciding on these things. So people that are voting for Trump are voting for Trump because they want to vote for Trump. And the people that are voting for Harris are going to vote for Harris because they want to vote for her. And so the question becomes, what's really motivating people?
In like honesty, I don't spend like too much time with like American people, so I don't know too much about them. But from what I see, I think the media has like a lot to like do with it.
Yeah.
So for example, even on my like YouTube ads, I see like two ads right after each other, and one is all for Harris and one is all for Trump. So I don't even know like what motivates people.
But that's for you, right?
Yeah, because
you get the two ads. Most people, if they're in the U.S., they're not getting two different ads. They're getting one ad.
Okay.
They have decided
because it's what they watch. It's what they. Okay, makes sense.
So we operate in America with like a two-party system, but I feel like there's a lot more nuance to that, because those two parties are made up of like hundreds of coalitions.
Yeah.
So even if you say like you vote red or you're conservative or Republican, there's like hundreds of micro decisions that are impacted by that. So I feel like those maps also don't really give a full story, because a lot of those regions, like earlier we were talking about why certain people in certain places vote certain ways. Well, they might not agree with every conservative value that the red party votes for.
Exactly.
But like they're voting.
But they have two choices. We have 330 million people have two choices. Right? Of course, there's no nuance to that. Like,
Yeah.
That's exactly, absolutely.
Yeah, so I feel like that's something you kind of have to like stop and like address as well.
And yet, no matter what you think or what anybody else thinks, all the nuances that they have, the complicated ideas, you get to pick one or the other. You don't get to do that nuance. You don't. You don't get to say, oh, I like this coalition, but not that one, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're stuck with this.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a great point.
I want to just really support what you're saying because I think it's really, really important. It's kind of like this class. If you tune in to our Wednesday afternoon office hours, where I'm just taking questions from the stream and I'm just talking and I'm giving nuance and I'm going all over the place with my thoughts, you would be like, wow, we don't hear any of this stuff in the classroom, right? But it's what's actually but it's what's here, right? And so this is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's really important.
Really important idea. That's
Definitely.
a cool idea.
No, that's actually one of the reasons to show those maps, right? Because it really makes that point very stark.